Welcome to Utah Stories Top 5, where we scour all of the top headlines of the day and sift through all of the spin and clutter and present to you the most important and pressing headlines, saving you countless hours. I am your host today, Allegra Zukowicz. On today's Top 5, we have proposed cost of I-15 expansion more than doubles to $3.7 billion. Westside opposition remains strong. Battle brewing between Utah builders, cities over home inspections. Utah lawmakers want to repeal abortion clinic ban. Utah State Senate passes NHL arena bill. Rendering shows what possible Salt Lake City arena could look like. But before we get to our headlines, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. And today's episode is brought to you by Utah Stories Magazine. Did you know that just for $3 a month, you can have Utah Stories print magazine delivered right to your door? Utah Stories has been in print for nearly 20 years, and the reason people still love reading it on paper is that it is a very unique and fun, tangible way to experience the world around you. Screens might be taking over our consciousness, but print media will never die. Why? Because print offers a way to connect you in a real-world manner. Let's not undermine our real-world communities, believing that somehow online communities should replace them. Utah Stories is your connection to the real world. All right, let's dive into our first headline and story. Proposed cost of I-15 expansion more than doubles to $3.7 million. Westside opposition remains strong. The newest proposal for expanding the I-15 in Salt Lake City and Davis County has doubled in cost, from $1.6 billion in the spring proposal to $3.7 billion, according to the Westview. The representatives from the Utah Department of Transportation and the Wasatch Front Regional Council were in attendance at a public hearing. UDOT representatives said the original estimate was several years ago, and representatives from the Wasatch Front said that the cost could be due to the project expanding. In the Westside story, it states that even while UDOT makes concessions and modifies their plans for I-15, community opposition to the expansion remains strong. This is especially true for those living near the freeway in Salt Lake City. At an official public hearing session at the Utah State Fair Park, several area residents took to the microphones to express their anger at the entire project. Lucy Cardenas, owner of Red Iguana in the Fair Park neighborhood, said the plan was a mistake. I am 100% opposed to expanding the I-15, she said. Cardenas was more in favor of expanding and improving transit options instead, saying that, quote, it's a matter of re-educating our people to not depend on cars so much, end quote. Moving on to story number 2, battle brewing between Utah builders, cities over home inspections. A fight is brewing on Utah's Capitol Hill between home builders and cities, according to KSL. A bill passed this week and awaits a vote in the House could allow builders and to pick their own inspectors. Supporters say it's a way to get home inspections done quicker and better, saving money in the process. But opponents argue it introduces a host of problems that could be dangerous for home buyers. Quote, we feel like when the entity that's being regulated picks their own regulator, that creates a potential conflict of interest that can undermine public safety, end quote, said Cam Deal, executive director of the Utah League of Cities and Towns. Moving on to story number 3, Utah lawmakers want to repeal abortion clinic ban. Hoping it will streamline the implementation of Utah's 2020 trigger abortion ban, should the Utah Supreme Court uphold it, lawmakers are advancing a bill to repeal portions of last year's legislation that bans abortion clinics. The Utah House last week approved the bill on a 59-10 vote, with Democrats voting against it. Monday, the bill won approval from a Senate committee. Last year, the Utah legislature passed a bill to end licensing and operation of abortion clinics and requiring that abortions be performed in hospitals with limited exceptions. The bill's passage came as lawmakers waited for a lawsuit currently tying up Utah's trigger law that bans almost all abortions in Utah. Moving on to story number 4, Utah Senate passes NHL arena bill. The Utah Senate passed a bill that helps build a National Hockey League arena, according to Fox News. The bill creates a sports and entertainment district in Salt Lake City. Lawmakers are proposing to allow Salt Lake City to raise the sales tax to provide some funding toward the project. The bill that helps build a National Hockey League will now move on to the House of Representatives. On Tuesday, the House of Representatives passed a bill to use sales tax money to help fund a Major League Baseball stadium. The bill was rewritten partly to appease some rural Utah lawmakers who objected to hotel taxes being raised statewide to pay for it. Moving on to story number 5, rendering shows what possible Salt Lake City arena could look like. As dreams of bringing an NHL team to Salt Lake City continue to skate through the minds of Utah hockey fans, a newly released rendering shows what the home for a club could possibly look like. The Smiths Entertainment Group shared the rendering with Fox 13 News on Tuesday, just as a bill that would help bring a team to northern Utah makes its way through the legislature. There is now about $900 million being allocated to an MLB team coming to Salt Lake City. There is also a big corporate handout to get an NHL team to Utah, which will offer corporate welfare tax breaks to Utah's billionaire Jazz owner Ryan Smith. Both of these measures could be a great idea for bolstering Salt Lake City's booming growth and downtown economy. I love the rendering of what 100 South looks like as an entertainment district, as Smith envisions. But what about affordable housing? All we can see is that Governor Cox wants to make it possible for Utahns to have access to 35,000 starter homes in the next 5 years. So moving on to our question of the day, will this plan get funding it needs and deserves? Or will the priority be for the MLB and NHL coming and the billionaires' needs for handouts over the working class Utahns' needs for housing? Here's what the Deseret News reported on this issue. The operating capital budget presented by Cox totals $29.5 billion and is without the surplus of past years. Its contents focus on 3 ideas: people, growth, and good governance. The governor said, and hits familiar topics in education, water use related to growth, and infrastructure. While an exact copy of Cox's budget is unlikely to become law, he hopes it will provide direction and motivation for the state lawmakers that ultimately have the power to decide how the government uses funds. Quote, building an additional 35,000 homes in the next 5 years is ambitious, but the investments and incentives in the Utah First Homes program make this entirely doable, end quote, Cox said. Quote, Utah First Homes will correct a market failure in the housing space and create new opportunities leading to home ownership for kids and grandkids, end quote. We don't know the answer to this question, so please comment down below what you think about this new initiative. And then moving on to the adventure of the day, go watch our podcast that came out today with Jerusha Hess, with describing her Oscar-nominated film, 95 Senses. It's super cool that we got the pleasure of meeting her, and definitely go check her film out and also our podcast as well. And then also another announcement, our beer issue release party at Shades Brewing on March 15th from 7 to 9 p.m. is coming up. We'd love for you to be there. Come have a beer and enjoy all Shades Brewing has to offer, and pitch some fun story ideas and possibly win some gift cards to local businesses and concert tickets. So thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you like this content and you want to engage to a greater degree with your local community, go out and subscribe to either Utah Stories print magazine or our free digital newsletter. From utahstories.com, you can subscribe to our newsletter that offers all the stories that we are covering in-house. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.